Oh, what is going on, Ada Nation? Welcome to Dapp Central. My name is Fareed. In today's video, as always, we're breaking down all of the latest news pieces and updates going on in Cardano. The very first news piece I want to jump into is going to be a brief review of the weekly Cardano report. And then right after that, I want to jump into some updates surrounding Project Catalyst and the fact that the voting season has officially started. Next, I want to jump into some news pieces surrounding the WingRiders DEX. They've released their monthly stats as well as hit a key milestone when it comes to the number of pairs supported on their platform. Now, in addition to that, they've also announced their WRLP, which is going to be the WingRiders launch pad, which I want to jump into as well as some of their recent or upcoming Project Catalyst proposals. Now, following that news piece, I want to jump into a piece surrounding Zengate, which is aiming to connect businesses globally with the launch of their Palmyra global commodities DEX. Now, on top of that, they've also announced an IDO as well as some catalyst proposals, which I also want to highlight. Now, last but not least, I want to jump into some news surrounding the Cornucopias game and the fact that they've now released their third build for OG and early testers, dubbed the Golden Hour. They've also released a pretty nice piece of footage surrounding mining, which I want to close out today's episode on. So that said, let's go ahead and jump into today's video content. Again, really highlighting all the latest news pieces going on the network. So first things first, we have the weekly Cardano report. As you guys can see there, we have 142 projects currently launched with over 1,200 builders. And then when we scroll down a little bit and take a look at some of the Plutus V1 and V2 scripts, we're now at about a combined 9,500 scripts, so nearing 10K, which is a pretty big milestone with respect to Cardano. Looking on the left-hand side there, we have the Hydra Masterclass, which took place at Rare Evo, held by Mr. Arnaud and Sebastian from the Hydra team. And then I also want to highlight here that I am planning to host a fireside chat with Arnaud, Sebastian, Pi Lanningham from Sunday Swap, as well as Trim Bousset, who's been here on the channel before. So stay tuned for that particular interview, really highlighting what Hydra is and what it's bringing to Cardano in terms of scaling. We also have an update surrounding the Sancho Net, which states here that phase 2 has now been completed. If you're not familiar with the Sancho Net, I did release a fully dedicated video breaking down exactly what that's bringing to Cardano with respect to governance in SIP number 1694. If you're not familiar, it's basically a playground that will allow for the community, which includes SPOs, DREPs, as well as developers, to all begin interacting and preparing for the Voltaire era. Moving right into the second piece I want to touch on, that's going to be voting for projects or proposals as a part of Project Catalyst. If you're not familiar, I have covered Project Catalyst here on the channel before, but it's basically a way for the community to go ahead and support builders using the Cardano Treasury funds. If we take a look here at the outline or the timeline, we can see that we've already gone through the actual launch. We've had the proposal submission and finalization deadlines achieved, and then we also moved into the community review. So looking at the bottom right-hand corner there, we're now in the voting period, which kicked off on August 31st, and it's going to last 2 weeks, wrapping up on the 14th of September. So you have 2 weeks to go ahead and actually register your wallet. If you're not familiar with how to register your wallet, I'll go ahead and leave this link down in the description below, but it basically walks you through the entire process of not only downloading the Catalyst app, but actually connecting your crypto wallet that you can then use to vote. Now, keep in mind that the actual voting, or the registration, I should say, did complete about 2 weeks ago, so you can no longer register. But if you've already registered and you actually want to go ahead and begin voting, there's also a guide breaking that particular portion of Project Catalyst down as well. So I'll leave the link to both of these here. Again, if you want to just go ahead and register for the next funding round, you can definitely do that. And then if you've already registered for funding round number 10 and you just want to figure out how to actually vote, then again, I'll leave this particular link down in the description as well. I believe that will take us through the first topic here as a part of today's Cardano Scoop. The next thing I want to jump into is going to be some updates surrounding the WingRiders DEX. So WingRiders is going to be an AMM style DEX building on Cardano, and they just released a pretty big update surrounding their WRLP, which is going to be the WingRiders launch pad. Now I'm going to jump into that in just a minute, but before I jump into that, let's take a look at some of their monthly stats here for the month of August. So at the very top left-hand corner there, we have over 40,000 visits to their DEX with over 1,100 swaps taking place. And then they've reached a pretty big milestone, which is supporting over or just about 400 trading pairs on their AMM style protocol. In terms of TVL, they hold over 32 million ADA, which is equivalent to over $8.3 million. In terms of trading volume, they've received more than $5 million worth of volume traded, or the equivalent of about 23 million ADA. If we take a look at the bottom left-hand corner there, we do have the top farms, which include the ADA/stable pair. We also have the ADA/WRT pair, ADA/Noom, ADA/SNEC, ADA/Society, and a few others that I'll let you guys go ahead and read on your own. Now, if we scroll over to the right, in terms of farms, there's a total of 32 farms, 14 of which offer double yields. They've released one tech update, and they've made one new partnership. In terms of Twitter followers, they're now over 38,000. So congratulations to the team, posting over 39 tweets in that month with over 10,000 Discord members. If you guys want to find out more about WingRiders, their AMM style solutions, how to actually earn yield, and how to actually use the platform, make sure to go ahead and check out their Discord, where they are relatively responsive and they're always welcoming and engaging with new community members. Jumping into the next piece here, the team has now gathered over 400 token pairs on the platform. So I believe they're going to be one of the biggest DEXs with support of over, again, 400 trading pairs. And they've also got a really big range of support for wallets. So I believe they support over 11 different types of wallets, being one of the most decentralized options when it comes to DEXs on Cardano. So make sure to go ahead and check them out. And again, a big congratulations to the WingRiders team on this big achievement. Now, as I mentioned earlier, they did release the announcement surrounding their WRLP, which is going to be their up and coming launch pad. I had a fully dedicated video breaking that down, touching on some of the key aspects and security measures coming online with their WLP. And then I also mentioned that they've released their very first partner, which is going to be the OrcFax Oracle, which is going to be actually using their launch pad to launch the FACT token. Some of the key pieces that stood out to me is that there will be optional KYC. There's going to be a mandatory lockup for liquidity for any tokens that launch on the platform to make sure there's no rug pulls. And then there's also going to be some customizable parameters that you can actually customize as a project looking to leverage or utilize the WRLP. Last but not least, this entire platform will be non-custodial and permissionless. So if you're, coming into the Cardano ecosystem, you don't have to ask anybody for permission. You're able to launch your token as long as you meet the requirements and as long as you're able to basically do everything in a fair and secure manner. So I wanted to briefly touch on that there. They did release, a tweet thread here, which is basically composed of 10 different tweets or 10 different portions of the thread, breaking down all of the benefits with respect to their WRLP. Again, check out my fully dedicated video if you guys want more information surrounding that. Now, I want to take a minute here to also briefly touch on some of their upcoming proposals. I believe they have a total of 5 of them, so I'm not going to spend too much time here, but I do want to raise them to your awareness. And as always, if you guys want to vote for these or check them out in more detail, then make sure to check out the links down below in this video description. So their very first proposal that we're going to highlight is going to be their open source database synchronization SDK. And this is going to be more or less for developers looking to get access to the Cardano blockchain. So as you basically get onto Cardano, you have to download or synchronize the blockchain to whatever computer or local database that you have. And you're basically able to do that using some tools right now, but the WingRiders team is aiming to provide new tools to simplify that data synchronization process. So they're going to be requesting a total of 665,000 ADA. They'll be aiming to create an open source, stable, self-hosted, customizable, and developer-friendly solution for the database synchronization on Cardano. The next one is going to be the Token Verification Alliance. As many of you know, within Cardano and crypto, there are a lot of scams and really bad tokens which are getting adopted and listed on DEXs, and they're going to be trying to fight that with this token verification alliance. So they're going to be requesting a total of 483,000 ADA, and the quick description here states that they'll be creating a community-driven token verification system on Cardano, ensuring transparency and trust by distinguishing legitimate project tokens from fake ones. So you can imagine some sort of a directory where people are able to get their tokens verified and listed, and then that will then be kind of shared across the Cardano ecosystem, and then anybody can reference that list to make sure that any tokens that are not on there are basically deemed as illegit, and then every token that is on there is then considered as safe, therefore something that you could potentially look at purchasing or investing in. Now, the third catalyst proposal will be for an open source on-chain DAO governance. And so we have seen platforms, for example, like Indigo, as well as LQ, and a few others, which even include some other DEXs, which have now done governance for themselves. Now, the difference here is going to be that the WingRiders team is aiming to do this for the entire ecosystem. So this will be an open source solution, basically meaning that anybody can go ahead and actually adopt this and then build out their own DAO governance. So as a part of this proposal, they're going to be requesting 566,000 ADA. And if you take a look at the brief description, it states here that they're aiming to bring on-chain, decentralized, and auditable governance solutions for Cardano. Their framework will empower projects with seamless community governance, enhancing transparency and the trust for the project. Moving into the fourth proposal, we've got NFT staking smart contracts, which they're requesting a total of 380,000 ADA. Now, scrolling down to the actual description of this proposal, they're aiming to bring on-chain and open source solutions, enabling non-custodial and trustless NFT staking, empowering NFT projects to distribute utility tokens, while also enhancing their project value and overall decentralization. Now, last but not least, they will need to actually audit the smart contracts associated with the NFT staking. And so this is what this proposal is going to be surrounding. And we can see here that they're going to be requesting a total of 241,000 ADA. And the brief summarization here states that they will be conducting a security audit for their prior proposal, which is going to be the NFT staking smart contract, with the vendor procured via RFP to identify and address any vulnerabilities or weaknesses, ensuring security and trustworthiness. So that's going to bring me there to the end here for the brief update surrounding the WingRiders platform. Again, make sure to check out their Discord, as well as get ready for their WRLP with the launch of the FACT token. Now, if you guys are enjoying this video so far, as always, I would appreciate you if you could tap that like button if you found anything helpful so far as a part of today's video. If you want more content like this surrounding Cardano and everything that's being built in the ecosystem, consider subscribing to the channel. And then last but not least, if you have any questions for me surrounding anything we've touched on so far or any of the remaining topics, then make sure to go ahead and leave a comment down below. The next thing I want to jump into is going to be a pretty big announcement that was made actually at Rare Evo, which I attended by Daniel Friedman from the official Zengate Global team. Now, if you're not familiar with Zengate Global, they were founded in 2022, and they're going to be a leading blockchain technology company building commercial solutions for governments and businesses alike around the world. Now, their ecosystem is composed of three core product families. Number one is going to be the Palmyra Commodities DEX. Number two is going to be the Solaris Portal. And then number three is going to be Siberia. Now, the key piece that I want to touch on here is going to be the actual launch of the Palmyra Commodities DEX. So right now, you can access the platform at palmyra.app. And a really cool thing is that I just interviewed Sam Lambert as well as Daniel Friedman. They were not able to bring on their marketer, who is going to be Theo from the Chef Pool, but I did actually get to meet them at Rare Evo, and we had a pretty big sit down breaking down everything with respect to Siberia, Solaris Portal, as well as Palmyra. So stay tuned for that. That should be dropping within the next 24 to 48 hours. Now, what I wanted to highlight here is going to be the fact that as a part of the actual MVP launch, which again was done by Daniel Friedman at Rare Evo, they now have their first commodity, which is going to be tea. So you can now come in here as a purchaser, right, or as a tea vendor and actually list your assets to be sold here. If I click on it, and this actually loads, we should be able to see the actual pricing information per weight. We can see how many units are listed, and then we can actually see all of the shipping information as well as the total cost before we check out. We've also got a pretty cool description here at the very bottom surrounding the actual type of tea, and then we have some traceability information surrounding the actual commodity itself. Now, this is just the beginning for Zengate. As you can imagine, they will be working to list additional commodities, but they want to make sure that because this is their first launch, that they have everything kind of done from end to end. That way, as they integrate additional commodities, there's no hiccups or bumps along the way. So congratulations to them. And again, stay tuned for my interview, which will be releasing very, very soon. Now, if I jump into the next tab here, this is going to be a pretty big piece of news surrounding their IDO, or initial DEX offering. So they're going to have the Palm token, again, which is going to be for the Palmyra Commodities DEX. And this is going to be coming along hopefully soon. Now, we don't have an actual date just yet, but it does state that they've partnered with the Ergo Pad, which I believe is actually going to be run by the same members who are creating CoinNecta on Cardano, with their lead being Marty, and I did have him on the channel as well for an interview. So I'll be checking out, what ErgoPad is doing, but I believe they're a launchpad specific platform, basically doing token launches on Ergo. So really interesting that we were touching on the WingRiders launchpad there earlier, and then we now have ErgoPad helping out here with the IDO, which it actually does say right there should be taking place in September, but we don't have the specific date for the Palm token. So again, I'll be providing more news updates surrounding Palmyra and just what they're offering, because this is a new project that has kind of come on my radar, and the recent interview that I had with Daniel as well as Sam was really helpful to kind of connect the dots as to everything that they're building as a part of their 3-family ecosystem. Now, last but not least, I'll leave the links to their 3 Project Catalyst proposals down below in today's video description, but they basically have a brand new method to secure and provide revenue streams for SPOs through, I believe, a collaboration with the Rosen Bridge. They're also going to be providing a governance framework, and then they're going to be developing a traceability protocol, which is going to be called the Winter Protocol. So again, check out the links down below if you guys want to find out more about their proposals. And as I mentioned before, if you guys are not already familiar with how to vote, then check out those other links that I mentioned as a part of the first segment here for today's video. So that's going to take me there through the end of the third topic. We've touched on Cardano, we've touched on Catalyst, we've touched on WingRiders, and we've just wrapped up with Zengate. Now, last but not least, I do want to jump into some updates surrounding the Cornucopias game. I did have the pleasure of sitting down with Rob and Josh at the recent Rare Evo event. We actually had a blast shooting the COPI Cafe episode number 64. If you guys have not checked that out, or if you're not familiar with COPI Cafe, I recommend you guys go ahead and check those out. Basically, Josh and Rob sit down every week and they provide the community with news and updates surrounding the development of the game. Now, pivoting back over to this particular announcement, this is going to be surrounding the release of the 3rd build for the Toledo Valley Megadome. Now, OGs, or Old Guard members within the Cornucopias community, are currently testing the early access version of the actual game, and this is now the 3rd build. The first build was just the regular daytime Toledo build. The second was dubbed Midnight, and then the 3rd is now dubbed the Toledo Magic Hour. As you can imagine, this is somewhat of a sunset time where they're really trying to iron out any of the bugs and kinks with respect to lighting and just textures and everything like that. So once this is actually done, what we should actually see is a full 24-hour life cycle where, you can actually play and you'll notice that things change from the daytime to the golden hour, then to midnight, and then it'll kind of restart again. So really trying to simulate what we have here in real life in the Cornucopias metaverse. Now, if we jump into some of the actual updates themselves, some of the features that they've made or changes that they've made include adding the early morning time of day. They've updated avatar skins as well as some skin shading changes. They've updated their fog as well as added some options for their menus. And then they've made some slight menu improvements, or some slight performance improvements, excuse me. And then they've also added some new jump puzzles as well as more holocaches. Shout out to the entire team for gamifying this through the use of holocaches, which are basically creating a form of a hide and seek almost, right? Where you're exploring the area, You know, you're providing the team with feedback with respect to bugs and what things can be improved. But at the same time, you're actually hunting for these hollow caches, which give you experience in the actual metaverse. Now, last but not least, they've added some new avatar examples, and then they've made some other various and small changes. So again, if you're an OG, let me know what you think down below. If you're not, do stay tuned. The team has confirmed that they will be releasing this sooner rather than later to NFT holders. Now, which NFTs they'll be looking at, I'm not exactly sure, but they will definitely make sure to roll this out to the general community very, very soon. The last thing I want to jump into is going to be a brief clip released by the team, and I have to play this here. Whoever does all of the animations and some of these promos for the Cornucopias game, I think really needs to get a big shout out. This is a piece or a preview of the mining build, which was released at the Rare Evo conference again in Denver. I had my opportunity to actually play this, and it was really awesome. Very, very interactive. You were able to basically check out a table of the 5 different types of mining, or you were then able to walk into the actual cave, right, and then actually begin performing the mining action. So that's what we're seeing there in the background. Somebody mining for some iron ore. And I'll just kind of just let this roll through a little bit, you know, and I'll leave the link to it down below as well. But the quality of the graphics, you know, the sounds that you hear within the actual caves and the tunnels, and the fact that you can now actually fall to your death was all brand new to me. You know, when you're actually walking around in the mine, you have to have a helmet on, you have to turn on the lights, you have to actually aim your pickaxe, you have to swing the pickaxe. There's pay dirt that falls to the ground that you have to then pick up. So they really did all that they could to make this as interactive and as immersive as possible. So again, shout out to the team. I'll be releasing some footage that I did get as a part of Rare Evo, which was kind of like my interaction at the actual booth. And I was actually able to catch Rob Gregg, as always, for a brief discussion surrounding, you know, the actual release of the build. Now, last but not least, they will be attending the NFT LV event again in Vegas. This is going to be the second this will be taking place, and I'll definitely be there in attendance again. So I'm looking forward to sitting down with Rob and Josh, potentially hosting another COPI cafe, or maybe just getting an exclusive look at the additional builds and changes that they will have made between Rare Evo and NFT LV taking place at the end of the month of September. So that is going to bring me here towards the end of the video. And there we go. We can see how dark it is in the cave and how dangerous it is in the caves. Again, shout out to the promotional manager creating this. I think it might be Matt, you know, but an amazing job here. Such an intense promo. I get the chills every time I watch it. But I'm really excited for what the Cornucopias team continues to do and what they continue to deliver. How amazing. And how big. What a way to wrap it up there. Again, shout out to the entire Cornucopias Games team. If you guys found this particular update video to be helpful, as always, I would appreciate you if you could tap that like button. If it's your first time stopping by the channel and you want more content like this, consider subscribing. And if you have any questions for me surrounding anything we've touched on as a part of today's video, then as always, make sure to go ahead and leave a comment down below. That said, I will see you guys in the next video.